stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, on roll call, Mr. Bartlett.
Here.
Mrs. Graves.
Here.
Dr. Lewis.
Here.
Mrs. Rankin.
Here.
We know Mr. Stelzer is not here. Mr. Rourke.
Mr. O'Rourke.
Rourke?
What is that?
Rourke.
I'm here, I guess.
Rumble it out. Sorry. All right, I need a motion and a second to excuse Mr. Stelzer.
So moved. Second.
Second. Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
And Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, he'll be excused. All right, before we get started tonight, we're going to have a little ceremony here, swearing in our newest member of the Marymount Police Department. Quite an addition. I'm quite honored to do this.
I'm over here.
Chief, you're over there. I'm looking around for you, sorry.
Somebody's-
You want to say a few words, please proceed.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Council, it is my honor tonight to introduce you to Rachel Hayes. Officer Hayes grew up in Amelia, so she's grew up here on the east side. She graduated from Amelia High School, attended the University of Cincinnati Claremont College, where she earned a associate's degree in criminal justice. She was an All-American volleyball player at the University of Cincinnati Claremont. She graduated from the University of Cincinnati Claremont Police Academy in 2013. She served as a bailiff in the Hamilton County Clerk of Courts for 1 year. Officer Hayes started her law enforcement career with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office as a corrections officer in the jail, where she worked from December 14th to October 2016. Officer Hayes served with the Colerain Police Department from October of 2016 until she accepted the position of patrol officer with our police department on October 4th. We're extremely happy to have Officer Hayes join our Marymount Police family and look forward to her serving this great community for many years to come. She has family with her here tonight, and at this time I would ask you, Mr. Mayor, to perform the oath of office, officially swearing in Officer Hayes.
Be delighted.
Sorry. Got that, guys?
These yours. Oh, good job.
I, Rachel Hayes,
Do hereby swear to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the United States,
do hereby swear to uphold the laws of the Constitution and the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution and the laws of the State of Ohio,
and the ordinances of the Village of Marymount,
and the ordinances of the Village of Marymount,
and to perform the duties of police officer
and to perform the duties of police officer
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Welcome.
All right, I think I'm gonna ask for a motion and a second to officially bring her on to the police force.
So moved.
Second, third,
Second.
fourth, fifth.
There you go.
Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, you're officially on.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yay.
All right, given the nature of tonight's agenda and some of the topics that we're going to discuss, I'm going to go a teeny bit out of order here tonight because, we do have a number of people here, regarding the discussion of surrounding the fire committee. So what I'm going to do, and I'm also going to allow at the end of that discussion, anybody from the gallery who wishes to speak will be allowed to do so, but you will be limited to the 3 minutes, of course. So, Tracy, would you like to sort of give us the highlights of the resident committee's report?
Certainly.
I'm assuming everyone has seen this and everyone has read this.
Yes.
On council.
Yep.
Is she gonna get up there?
Is it appropriate or should I read the recommendations?
Well, it's short. I mean, it's short. If you would just like to read it, that would be perfectly acceptable.
Do you want me to go to the?
You should go to the podium, please, yeah, so that you're on a mic.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for all of your participation and a lot of my committee members, the committee members are here today. So I'll try to keep this short and sweet. The Marymount Residence Fire EMS Committee accepts and supports the conclusions of the Kramer Report. The committee recommends the council accept the conclusions of the Kramer Report. The committee strongly recommends that now and in the future that any actions by the council to change the current operating model of the Marymount Fire EMS Department that involve an alternative service delivery be approved by a vote of the residents of Marymount. Alternative service delivery shall be taken to mean contracting for shared fire and EMS services with another agency that changes the local control and self-operation of the Marymount Fire EMS Department. It shall not preclude Marymount from contracting for exchange of services in which the Marymount Fire EMS Department is the lead agency. The committee recommends that the financial soundness and operational stability of the contracting entity be considered as an essential qualification for any potential partner agency. The committee recommends that an annual report on the performance and financial condition of the Fire EMS Department be produced and made publicly available to the residents of Marymount. The committee also recommends that the council monitor any disruption or warning signs of instability in the current fire department staffing or operating model, and that information be included in the annual report. The committee thanks Kramer and Associates for their analysis and findings, and Mayor Brown and the Village Council of Marymount for providing the opportunity to provide resident input and recommendations regarding the Marymount Fire EMS Department. The committee wishes to express its sincere respect and gratitude for the service, skills, and dedication of Chief Hines, Assistant Chief Copeland, lieutenants, firefighters, paramedics, and EMTs of the Marymount Fire Department. We appreciate the opportunity to serve our community and respectfully request that our recommendations be accepted by council.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you. Now, I also, I have sent around to everyone on council. I'm assuming you all have read or seen, to whatever extent you desire. So Kramer's final report.
And I think it would be good if he would come also, and we have a chance to ask him questions and clarifying things at some point.
And well, at some point we can do that.
Yeah, I mean, he's not here tonight, so.
Wasn't that a condition of his?
Yeah, we haven't, because we have to officially accept it, we're not supposed to
We can.
pay him the final bill until,
Yeah,
because he had some suggestions about stuff that I didn't see in the report I wanted to ask him about.
sure. Okay, like I said, I'm assuming you've done that, and any questions of
I just wanna
council that
thank
you want to
you
ask
all.
Tracy?
What I've taken from it, you dug in deeply. You did a wonderful job, and I appreciate all the work you did, and I'm assuming the rest of council feels the same way.
Yes, we do.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you so much for your dedication and quick turnaround time.
So we have to think of something else for this.
So, I
They
mean,
did
are
a
there
really
any
good job.
questions?
They
Do you
need
have any
another
questions
task.
regarding, what is in the report or their final report? No one, anybody from the gallery? Now's your chance. If you have any questions, you may stand up and ask a question.
I'll get out of
Somebody?
the way.
Nobody? We're all more or less good with it?
I did
Steve?
highlight one sentence.
Okay.
It shall not preclude Marymount from contracting for exchange of services in which Marymount Fire EMS Department is the lead agency. I'm just wondering, did you put any thought into any candidates, or?
No, I think that what we were attempting to craft language that would demonstrate how important we think it is for the location and the local control to remain with Marymount. We appreciate that there are operating and financial pressures, and there may be pressures and other kind of disruptions that might cause us to need to partner. I think that what we didn't really talk about who we thought would be good candidates. I think that the biggest piece for us was to ensure that none of the I would say, drawbacks that the Kramer report exposed and some of the arrangement that's currently on the table, we wanted to make sure that was going to be remedied, and that we want to make sure that we retain some local control.
Fair enough. It's going to come up again. is it in 3 years, 5 years, it's gonna come up
Sure.
again. And I just want to make sure that the good work you guys did, becomes part of that, when we put together that information next time, because my guess is it'll come up again at some
So
point.
one of the things that we would very much like to do is we've tried to be very diligent around documenting all of our work and our meetings and what we looked at and what we found. And I would like to make sure that we're handing all of that over to the village as a matter of public record. And so in the event that this issue is raised again, we don't have to start from ground zero. We can start taking a look at the work that has already been done.
Good point.
No? Point.
Yes, if I could just make a comment.
Sure.
It really surprised me that we could have spent as much time and as much money going down the road on this without ever really knowing the financial condition, true financial condition of the Little Miami Fire District, which lost money in 18, lost money in 19. Their auditor in 19 said he's concerned about the financial stability and future of that fire department. I don't know how you've been down the road considering something like that until you've vetted those financials. There is no audited statements past 2019, which in business would be a warning sign, along with the comments of the auditor. So I would just ask council to proceed with even more deliberate caution with regard to fire EMS or many other things where we start spending money, we have lots of meetings, some debates, maybe disrupt parts of our organization like fire EMS, and do that without really having any sense that this was a viable alternative. And I think on its face, it's not viable based on the financials. And that, you can look at all the other things, and we have challenges with costs, et cetera. But having said that, if it costs more to keep the people in this community safe, we ought to address that, not by trying to save our way to prosperity. It doesn't work. And if we need to spend more money, we should. We certainly spend more money on schools. And as we know, the village gets a very small portion of the real estate taxes, property taxes as it is. So I'd encourage council to think about looking at long-term funding for fire and EMS.
Good. Jim, I know, you could state your name, please.
I'm Jim Orr, and I'm a resident of Marymount. And I've been concerned about this issue because I have a very strong belief that our number one responsibility to our community is safety. And this hits right at the heart of that. So thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Bob
Bob?
Stone, 350 Lylewood Place. I'd like to follow up on your comment. First of all, I think you and your committee did a fabulous job, and thank you very much. But I would also like the community to know the cost of this entire exercise. So I would like council to prepare a document, put it on the website for clarity of Mr. Kramer's expenses. That includes our solicitor's expenses related to this issue, any expenses that the committee had, as well as any of the expenses with the police or fire departments, as well as the administrative staff in the office. So we know what the true cost of this activity was.
A good idea, Bob. It's going to take me a little bit to get that pulled together, but
Oh,
yeah.
I understand it, but I'm just saying, when we go on when we go into these investigations,
Sure.
whatever you want to call it, it has some significant costs, particularly when you have consultants, their legal issues, a lot of time in the fire and police department. I just think, that isn't free. That people get paid hourly wages for that. So I just think we need to know
Sure.
the total cost.
All right.
Anything related to this.
All right. I'll work on that. Anyone else? No? We all good? Any other comments, council? Well, I know I've talked, privately with several of the members, and of course I've thanked you repeatedly, but I want to do it here again publicly, for the service and the work that you all have put in on this. I mean, I know this was a difficult and challenging endeavor for all of you. It did consume a lot of time. And we're really indebted to you, and I just can't thank you enough.
Well, on behalf of the committee, I think we all appreciate the opportunity to serve our community, and we obviously have a vested stake in this as well. So, thank you.
No.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks to
thank
everybody
you.
on the committee.
Bill, what are the next steps then? When would this be voted on?
Well, I'm just about to call for a motion. I think that we need a motion now to basically dissolve the committee, to take the committee, it was officially formed by resolution, and I believe we should unform it or decommission it or whatever the term might be. That would be the first step. And then I would assume that we would also, after we do that, that we would call for a motion basically accepting the report as, as written in its entirety, that we essentially agree with that and that we're accepting it. We're going to be abiding by it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what you want, the resolution that created the committee said that you start it and then we can take it away. We can give it and we can take it away. And since the task force has completed its duty, and we may have questions for Mr. Kramer in the future, but the task force done what we've asked them to do, so we can have a motion now to simply accept the report of the task force and then disband the committee now, so you don't have to worry about coming into any more meetings or anything like that.
So we're combining it into one?
Please?
We're combining this into one motion?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
And we're not making, we still have to hear from Kramer. I'm going to wait for the report, but he's going to come in. Accepting the report isn't making the decision at this time, correct?
Correct. We're not making a decision what?
I'm not sure what you
Not
mean.
making a decision at this point with regards to any future recommendations. We're accepting the report, but that's not voting on the decision at this point, correct?
What decision?
Well, like, Mr. Kramer had some other suggestions about things we could do as well. And I think that's one of the things I think we need to talk through from a
I have not
council
seen Kramer's
standpoint.
report, so I
Is because,
don't know.
are there other things, that was one of the things we specifically asked for, is like other ideas in addition to this.
Right.
So to say, are there things we could do that would also help? So,
We're
while
always,
keeping it still here.
Rob, we're always looking for ways where we can save money or spend less money, make more money.
Yeah.
But to have committees that have the responsibility of providing us with reports
Sure.
on an issue where they've completed that report, I think we can go ahead and disband the committee,
Yep.
accept their recommendation,
Yep.
and council members be aware that this is what your community wants.
Sure.
Mr. Kramer may have some other suggestions, and we might like those suggestions, but if those suggestions embody a full change in services like this committee has investigated, then we better think long and hard about whether or not we want to approve that. You know what I mean?
Sure. No, totally agree with you, Ed.
But for the purpose of tonight, we accept this.
We accept this. Now, Rob, I mean, if you're talking about some of the finer points that Mr. Kramer, was making in his report, little things that could be tweaked within our
There are things,
existing.
yeah, and I thought he had some suggestions, and there's actually
we
some,
always do
some
that.
things he
We can
said-
always do that.
Yeah, so that's why I'd like to have a meeting with Kramer, is to go
Oh.
through his report, ask him questions,
Right.
clarify, because we haven't accepted his report yet either.
Well, we
And
can,
then coming out of that, so.
So, bottom line, I wanna know, are we getting rid of Fire EMS from Marymount? We're not merging?
in accepting the recommendation of your report here tonight, no, the answer to that is no, we are not.
Okay.
We are not.
The issue is done, it's not happening.
As far as I'm concerned, it is.
I'm not saying this is how I feel one way or the other, but to me, what I'm clear is that accepting this report to me doesn't mean that we're making a decision on it tonight.
You shouldn't disband the committee.
That's what I think.
If you're not gonna make the decision, don't disband the committee.
Why aren't we
Because
making the
All
decision?
you're doing is driving it down the road, saying you wanna kick the can so you can join Little Miami Fire Department.
I,
Let's be clear.
well, all the conclusions in Kramer's report basically were, the four axes that you looked at. Financially, does it make sense? No. What makes best sense for the community? To stay in a central location? Yes. Are our building adequate? Yes. And then your analysis of the historic significance. So, those are what Kramer stated as conclusions, and that's what you're accepting.
Okay, so,
So I see it differently.
as to what's happening tonight, I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I see it, and that's what I think the gist of the motion is and what we're doing here.
Yes.
So yeah, because they're saying actually, what they said here was, if we wanted to do any kind of thing with Little Miami as a joint thing, it should go to the vote of the residents. That's what it says. And I totally agree with that. I very much agree with
But it
that.
will. I mean.
So, you know, that, I totally agree with that.
Well, that's what I'm saying, Rob. Take a long, hard look at it, because if you guys would decide to go against what this community is recommending, even though.
I'm not saying that at all. I just want to be clear on what we're
But
accepting. and
I'm
what we're-
just saying, if you think about that, then it definitely will go to the community, and that's fine with what they want. They're not saying that we can't accept recommendations of Kramer that may tweak the operation of the fire department. I think what they're saying is that as far as any, now they use the word merger a lot. We're not merging. It was more of a shared services type agreement. There is not going to be any shared services type of agreement. Is that a true statement?
Well, I wouldn't vote for a shared service right now.
Say it again.
They're, from what I'm reading here, they're saying any changes in the current model.
Right,
They would,
They're not recommending any changes in the current model.
right.
right.
Okay.
Well,
And so the current model is we have the Marymount Fire Department, and we're
So-
moving on as we are.
Right. And
As we found throughout this report, every time that he made a suggestion, we had already been at that, visited him, and already vetted that process. There were equipment costs that he thought we would have to accrue that he didn't know that we had already in the basement, or that we already had downstairs. I'm sorry. I don't know what else we could do. We haven't been able to even move ahead on grants because of this, because we can't give our financials out, because what do we know what we're doing? So we lost an entire year of grants because of this process. As far as yours, everybody I know watched ICRC, these questions were asked, Rob, these were things that were answered in those things to our citizens.
Right. And again,
And I understand you want to toward your report, but you had your say in multiple emails. I understand that. You're talking about operations stuff. You're not talking about, that's a cost savings thing that can be done between me and the fire chief that can be done on a recommendation.
right, and that was one of the things we asked for Mr. Kramer to provide, and he's provided some, but it's funny, because he brought up some things in meetings here that he didn't put into the report, and that's what I'd like to ask him about, is some of those things, and so why didn't he include it in the report? Like you talked about the police training for some of that stuff.
I don't understand. I thought we
Can't, I mean, it's, people can't, they can
Hold on a minute,
stop.
hold on, everybody.
Okay.
Listen.
One person at a
Hold on a
time
minute. We want everybody's comment, because I got to tell you something. When the man says kick the can down the road, I tend to agree with you. Should be over with, in my opinion, but I'm not counsel. The only thing I'm going to ask you guys is let's speak one at a time, okay? Your 3-minute limit. If there's more you want to say, that's certainly fine. I don't think Mr. Bartlett is necessarily saying that he rejects the ideas or the conclusions that have been listed in your committee report. He's just saying that he'd like to ask Mr. Kramer some questions, so long as those questions don't change the model of the fire department, or the results of those questions don't change the model of the fire department. I know that our council will not vote on something that goes against what the committee has recommended. Is that a fair statement?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
so,
a fair statement. Even for the council members that have questions today, that's a fair statement. If there's going to be any changes, you are not going to vote in favor of those changes to the model.
No.
So I don't know why we can't accept the report and disband the committee tonight. You know, do you want them still putting in more time and effort on this thing?
But I don't think council should be telling, I mean, we can give that information to Chief Copeland, and he has that. And that's something that, you know, that he needs to have the ultimate decision on. I'm not an expert on fire and EMS. I mean, we can say that we would like for you to look at these, but whether he wants to adopt them or not, that's his business. That's his profession. I wouldn't tell him how to open an
Fire
argument.
chief you're talking.
Yeah.
I agree, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, there are lots of ways you can save money, whether they're a good way or not.
We can't micromanage everything in this village. We've got two very competent people leading the show, and we have even more competent people that work with us. And I think that's one of the things that Kramer did say in his report. So, with that said, I think the conclusion is we accept your report. We agree that we are not going to change our model right here and now. If we have questions for Mr. Kramer that substantially changes our report in the future, we're not going to do those changes, okay? And I think that's what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd be
I don't know
okay
why
to.
it's so
I'm fine with
confusing.
that.
I'm fine with
Yeah.
that.
It's my understanding that as a condition of paying Kramer that he needs to present his final report. what I want is I want to put this to rest because we've wasted a lot of money
Yeah.
and a lot of resources on this. Let's get a foundation of knowledge, a document, whatever you want to call it, so the next time this comes up, we can say, no, we're not doing it.
Here it is, here it is. My only question would be, under what mechanism would, I mean, I understand we would have Mr. Kramer in here, and we could ask him questions, then
But nothing
by
that
what,
would
by
affect
what
our
manner or
decision.
means then would we go forward with that?
Well, again, I would like to understand if there's some ideas that he talked about that weren't in the report that could maybe save us some things while keeping the current structure.
Okay.
So let me be really, really clear with folks out there. I've read the report. I thought he did a good job with the report. I agree with his conclusion. Let me be really blunt and honest about that. I think it does make sense at this point in time to continue to have the services here in the village with us under control. Those are the two things that you guys also brought up in the report. I agree with that. I'd like to explore with Mr. Kramer, are there other things, that was part of the things that we asked him to do
Yes.
when we gave him the original proposal thing, to say, and if we stay here, what other things could we maybe do that would help us continue to retain the services here? And so I'd like to go through that with him, because there's things that he brought up in meetings with the committee that weren't in his final report, and I'd like to follow up with that to see what's going on.
And I
Yeah.
feel like if we're concerned about the money, right?
Well, that's what I'm asking. I mean, now, if that's gonna be done, say, within a committee, that's why I'm asking.
Oh, no,
By what means is this gonna be conducted?
I would think I think he would come to council, because all of council needs to ask him questions about his report, right? If Randy's got a question, he should be able to ask it, anything like that, so,
Gathering information doesn't mean you're changing the decision.
right, right.
Okay,
Well,
I
and
just,
can I
why,
say
I think
something?
it's important that people
Yeah,
understand that.
I mean, like Mr. York said, I think what Rob's saying is, okay, maybe there's some things in the report that can change, tweak some things that we currently do. But what this report's saying is that the Marymount Police, or the Marymount Fire Department stays here. It is the Marymount Fire Department.
Yeah.
We're not gonna contract with Little Miami or anybody else. We're
Yeah,
keeping
we're
the
not
model
moving the
we
equipment
have
to
now.
Fairfax, we're not
And I
buying
think
contractual
that- and I agree
services from
with,
Fairfax.
Mr. York, I think we take a vote that we do not continue looking down that road. Now, can there be tweaks made to our current model that may be in
Sure.
Kramer's report?
Sure.
Fine, but I agree. I think that tonight's a good time to put this thing to bed, hopefully, so.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, I'm fine with the decisions about keeping it here, but I'd like to continue to explore with Mr. Kramer, what can we do?
Yeah, I just wanted Kramer to be able to come and present his report and at that point in time to me, but if
He can
that's
still
what
do
it-
that, yeah.
Always have
He
that
can still
option.
do that.
Well, no, he should, because
He should
like
he
you
should do
always
that.
his report says it's still a draft that has to be accepted by council.
Exactly,
And
but I would like
so-
to basically have a motion that says that we're disbanding the citizens group, and we are accepting in its entirety what the resident committee has in their report.
Bill, is
So
that
moved.
one motion?
Oh, yes, I
Yeah,
think we
you
can
can-
combine that into one motion.
Go.
I don't understand that. Are we accepting the report?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Well, that's what we're gonna vote on. And we have a,
Well,
we
we're
have a
gonna vote,
motion.
yeah.
We have a motion.
Committee. Are you voting on the, contracting services tonight? Can we vote first and then disband the committee?
There's gonna be no contracting of services.
Yeah, that's not
I
gonna
mean,
happen.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
So the motion is one
Essentially, that
motion.
is what you are stating in your report.
And I'm wondering why, if we're concerned about the cost of Bill Kramer,
Right.
why we're still gonna contact him again, when there was a meeting with Bill Kramer where we could address questions. Why are we gonna have to go back and,
Well, all we're really going to be doing is sort of finalizing with Mr. Kramer questions regarding his final report. I don't anticipate, I mean, there's going to be no additional pay involved in that.
Yeah,
He
that was part of his
essentially
contract.
is fulfilling the terms of his contract,
Okay.
which is the $73 or $7,400.
Can you vote to finalize accepting his report, not, so this not
Well, if we're
changed
accept- if
next
we're
week after
expecting-
we disband this committee, and then you sit and you have
Yeah,
a big
by-
meeting, you.
If we're accepting your
How do you change
recommendations,
his report?
your
So
recommendation
none of us see
says.
it.
right, I
You
mean,
can't change the report after you disband the committee.
right.
That's manipulation.
Well, if you want to wait, then
That's
let's wait.
manipulation.
That's
No,
fine.
I don't wanna wait.
Why would you
No,
wait?
don't need to wait.
It costs us money, Rob.
I mean,
You
come
know,
on.
you guys do what you want.
You all need to make a decision. You're working these guys, you're putting pressure on them. You just bend it.
add Mr. York's recommendation by this is over, however you want to word that, to the ordinance.
You mean to the motion? Make
To
it
the
part of the
motion.
motion? Yeah, of course we can.
I think that would,
Just
that
so-
would resolve, because what Randy said was, this thing is over. And if that is in that motion, and you're accepting, you're doing three things. This thing is over, you're accepting the report,
Right.
You're disbanding
and
the
you're
committee.
disbanding the committee. Well, if you want to do three motions, fine.
Well,
This is the
possibly,
sheet.
I mean, I think to Steve's point though here, then I think we also have to have it in there that there will be no alterations made to that final report as it was presented to us now.
Look, so Bill, you have some members of council, this is the first time I've ever seen Kramer's report.
Why is this the first time? If you're on
It's the
council and
first-
this is an issue, you should be reading it.
This is the first time that you send it out to
You've
everybody.
had more emails
Rob,
with that
you
guy.
have-
Oh, no, it's not me. Steve,
Rob,
you
I
Steve.
know
You've been
that you
emailing this guy
contacted him.
every
You
day.
asked him to change
Enough,
the language
guys,
of the
please
report.
stop. Order.
Please do not raise your voice in here.
You need to call order. You're losing control of the room.
What I have a problem with,
I will get back control. Thank you for the assistance.
I'm sorry, here's my big issue. Rob,
Yes.
you have contacted Bill Kramer numerous times. You even asked him to change the language. Why?
So the other people have not seen, because some of his data
You
is
wanted it to
wrong. He had
stop,
wrong
no,
savings.
it wasn't
He
about
had wrong
data.
savings in there.
You asked him to soften his language.
No, I did
Why?
not. I did not soften the language, so you
Did
told
he,
me.
you asked him to, he did not.
No.
Really?
So yes, and you want to hear, so here's Mr. Kramer's response, because Bill sent Mr. Kramer a message and said that he doesn't want me to talk to Mr. Kramer anymore, so he said.
Because
here's
we
here's
agreed
response-
that you
here's
would back
response
up.
from Mr. Kramer.
That's a citizen.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, and good morning to you. It is true that small changes in my draft were in large part requested by Rob, but they were minor clarifications and improvements, all of which I agreed with. None of them changed the facts or findings, since I always insist that my report must be based on my analysis and observations, free of external influence. Rob worked diligently to make sure all the options were adequately considered. for
Rob,
Marymount.
here's my frustration.
Sure.
When we formed the committee, council was asked to back off. You emailed him numerous times. You emailed him first,
Oh.
not for him to get you information, and then you asked him to soften language.
I did not ask him to soften language.
Okay.
But that's, the thing is, well,
So,
made a
the thing
motion.
is,
I made a motion.
we haven't been informed, and that's why we're mad. And then you're,
I think
You're
we're all
doing
saying the same thing. I think we're all saying the same thing.
Yeah,
we're not.
I don't think
We
anybody's.
have a motion on the table.
We're gonna get a motion out.
Yeah, I tell you what, let one of our council members make a motion. If it gets a second, we'll vote on it. I tell you, here's what I'm gonna say. I'm the lawyer, and I don't have an opinion or necessarily a dog in this fight. But I want to say I agree with the committee that wants to put an end to this, only because the rumor mill in this village is always rampant about something. It's been rampant for a long time about this fire issue. I think the committee is very, very concerned about putting that particular issue to rest. Are there other ways we can save money in this village? Sure there are. Every one of you guys should be looking at that day in and day out. But as far as this fire issue is concerned, I think Randy or whomever wants to make the motion, discussing what we've talked about and what the committee clearly wants should be made, and then you guys can vote on it from there. Okay?
Well, if I may, I believe that the Kramer report that I got said final on every page. It's the final report.
It did.
So that's the report. It's done.
That's
So
my
I move
understanding.
that we accept the Kramer report. I also move that we accept the recommendations of the committee, and we suspend the committee, and we suspend further conversations about integrating our fire department.
Second.
fine with it.
Second, third, fourth.
On roll call, Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries.
I think we were.
So again, the thing with Randy, it does say final report pending council approval on the very
We just
front.
approved it.
So I think, no, the thing is, again,
We'll approve it.
If we want to make alterations to policies and that, shouldn't that be something that we discuss with maybe Chief Hines?
yes,
Copeland?
yeah.
That was the point I made.
Going to Kramer and continuing with all.
Well, he
this.
should be definitely be brought into that conversation, of course.
The ones that run the departments. right?
Exactly.
Why are we going to continue to reach outside of our sources? and
We're not.
then-
We're not.
That was the point I made.
All right.
Just wanted to understand, Bill.
All right, let's, let's all catch our breath here for a second.
You understand what I'm saying.
Settle down. Just
Motion is
a teeny bit.
passed and the issue is really dead.
The issue, it's over. Right, all right.
Let's get Mr.
I
Patriot
thank you all.
Engineering
If this kind of brings a conclusion to the fire discussion for this evening, or the fireworks thereof, we're going to be moving on with other issues in council. Those of you who would wish to stay, you're more than welcome to stay. It's not going to be as exciting as the past 30 minutes, but yeah, it's Katie Mason, yeah. Steve Lewis.
Oh, it's Louise, I see her. No, I really did. What's everyone else here for? Probably here for Mr. Weinstein's presentation.
We have with us
We
tonight.
should have let him go first.
Well, we should have.
That's what I said.
You don't want to miss out on that, did you? All right, sir, if you would like to get up and give us a little brief talk about a grant, Brownstone grant, is it called? Am I got it right?
Brownfield.
Brownfield, okay.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Weinstein. I'm with a company called Patriot Engineering. And the purpose of me contacting you all was to inform you of the fact that there is a new grant program, actually two programs that are coming out in the state of Ohio. One is for the assessment and cleanup of brownfields, which are the abandoned or underutilized commercial and industrial property with known or perceived contamination. And then the second program is for the demolition of commercial and residential structures. The governor put $350 million into the budget for the assessment and cleanup of brownfields and $150 million in the budget for the demolition of residential and commercial structures. So the purpose of me being here is to inform you of that fact, to work with whoever you would potentially want me to work with to help inventory, to decide whether or not there is a benefit to the community. The way that the grants are coming out is each county in the state is getting $1 million of the brownfield money off the top and $500,000 of the demolition money. That's going directly to the counties. All the rest of the money is first come, first serve, and there's a 25% match. So in other words, if you had a $100,000 demolition project, there would be a $25,000 match from the community. Right now, the money is going to be administered by the Ohio Department of Development. They are in the process of creating the applications and the governing rules by which the monies will be awarded. What we understand at the moment is that it's going to be very similar to what was previously a program in the state of Ohio called Clean Ohio. And I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with that or not, but it was for the assessment and cleanup of abandoned and underutilized commercial and industrial property. It was very successful. It was actually touted by US EPA as the #1 program in the country. And so our expectation is that these rules are going to pretty much mimic the prior Clean Ohio rules, with applications being available in the fourth quarter of 2021. Yes, sir.
Just so I understand, so there's only $100,000 allotted to all of Hamilton County?
No.
$1
million. $1 million has been allocated to each of the 88 counties. And then an additional $500,000 for demolition. That's going directly to the counties with no required match. From there, it is first come, first serve. So, Marymount can apply directly for funds for XYZ property. They don't need the county to be involved. You can apply directly on your own.
Are these XYZ properties that the Village of Marymount has to own?
I'm going to say at the moment, based on the prior activities, the Clean Ohio, the answer is no. There would be an agreement in place. So in other words, if property owner X has issues and a developer wants to come in and develop it, right? The community it has to be a public entity to receive the grants. So you enter into an agreement with either the property owner or the developer in order to inject those funds into the project with some understanding of an expectation of the outcome of that. In other words, I come in and say I'm going to develop a UDF. The expectation by contract would be at the end of the day you get a UDF for those services.
And I'm just curious, one of your services where you say inventory properties, that's your company, if we hire you, we pay you X number of dollars to go around and let us know if there are in fact any brownfield properties in this village, whether we own them or a private owner owns them?
Well, we could do that. Typically what I do is work with somebody you would designate, somebody who's very familiar with the community, and sit down with them and explain. Typically it just, I'm never going to inventory your community the way you can inventory your own community. So it's better that we would just work with you, right? And the way we typically work is I don't come in and say, I'm going to inventory and you're going to pay me X number of dollars or whatever. I would work with you to help inventory those properties. And once, you prioritize them, we would, work with you to say, what is your priority? Prepare a grant application. If successful, then we would implement the grant. So we would be paid for services out of the grant, not charge you up front for those services.
Anybody else got any questions?
I would say, where was he when we had the steam plant problem?
Right.
years ago?
That would
Right.
have been the poster child, yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been the poster child.
Yep.
The project, the steam plant, the original steam plant.
Was it
project,
really? Okay,
Taking
okay.
it down, that would have been ideal for this type of program.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm even asking a question, I normally don't talk much, but,
Well, you're definitely making up for it.
But I'm not aware of any properties that we have in the village of Marymount that would qualify as brownfield properties. I mean, these guys might, but I don't
What about in
know.
our industrial area?
Please?
What about in our industrial area? There's
I don't know.
warehouses?
I'm not aware of any.
So again, a brownfield is kind of a bit of a misnomer. It is an abandoned or underutilized commercial or industrial structure with known or perceived contamination. So in other words, it could be a strip plaza here that has, eight units in it, and only 4 of them are occupied.
See if they wanted to.
That would
join
qualify
us.
as a
Okay,
brownfield,
I got it.
right? If one of the tenants that had been in that unit was a dry cleaner, let's say. Now, studies show that over 90% of all dry cleaners create contamination, right? So it's just something to think about. I talk with a lot of communities about this, typically small communities, and a lot of them will say, we just don't have any. And you keep the conversation going, and 30 minutes later it's, the old school, the old, the old this, the old that, the abandoned house down the street. Because this is going to pay for everything for the demolition of a single-family residential structure that's abandoned, all the way through, doing things like I did the former Moser Safe Plant in Hamilton, Ohio. I've torn down the former Ford Wixom Assembly Plant in Wixom, Michigan, which was 4.7 million square feet. So, it runs the gamut, and it's what's important to your community, right? What's important to your community, it may not be the next, stadium for the Cleveland Browns or something of that nature, but it's just as important to this community.
I got you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we go on a hunt for some property.
We're going to hunt for some
Well, we
properties.
might have some.
Yeah, we might have some, I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
We're looking at that hard, so thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, everybody read the minutes? Questions regarding the minutes?
I don't normally talk like that too much,
All right, not hearing any. Do we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second. Mr. Bartlett?
Abstain since I wasn't here.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Abstain.
Oh, that's right,
wasn't
you weren't
here.
here either. Yeah, okay. Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, we'll accept those minutes. All right, everybody looked at Police Chief Hines' report. Any questions regarding that? Anything to add, Chief?
No, sir, not at this time.
You good? All right. Mr. Copeland, you got anything to add about the fire report? Do not. John? Service report, please.
Yeah, I have no questions, but I just want to thank everybody that was involved for yesterday's Employee Appreciation Day for luncheon and stuff like that. Went real well.
Yeah.
Like the music was good. So
Yeah, I mean, it was
I wanted
most
to thank them
enjoyable.
while they were still here, the
Yeah.
Park Advisory Board, but they had stepped out already. So
You all did a good job setting up the tent, taking it down, all the other things.
weather worked out well.
Yeah, I really appreciate the extra effort. It was good. I want to thank, Leah, I guess, got out of here with all the excitement. I really want to thank her. She really sort of organized this and really stepped up. She had a lot of assistance from my wife and a few others I probably have to mention here, I have to thank. We really had, we had some great food.
Yep.
A lot of contributors. Yeah, it was a good
Bengals were
time.
doing well till Randy showed up.
Yeah. All right, well,
Failed to be a scapegoat, Randy.
Yeah.
Deanna's report, any
Be
question
somebody.
regarding Deanna's report?
I just want to say that we're $200,000 more than we were last year at this time, which is what we kind of expected, with last year being a COVID year and things were kind of on a little different time frame with when taxes were due and people were out of work. So we're back to where we thought we would be.
Cool. Thanks, Tony.
Okay, that's good. And Tony, I know I'm going to ask this question, I know you're not going to know the answer. The new UAN reports that are in here, is there any way we can get these things so that somebody can actually read them?
I think
Sure is.
Eli gave that disclaimer when she sent these out.
Yeah, I know she did. And
It's not. I think they're really just made, you can view them, you can make them bigger on your screen. But as far as making a printout readable, no.
You can't do a landscape.
do you have any success printing these out larger?
No.
No.
Because when they send them like PDF, you can't, it's
You
already.
can't make them.
The one thing you could do is you could maybe make the margins smaller on the side, you know? You could shrink the margins so that
shrink the
it
margins.
fills when you fill
I
it.
don't think it gives us the option to do that.
When you do print, because sometimes you can go in and
I'll
set
check.
a
I'll
margin
check
on it.
that.
But it's not gonna be huge. This thing's already pretty close to the margin. It's not gonna get a lot.
We even tried rotating it. I think, printing it.
Yeah, this one, no, I've seen this landscape. She's done this one landscape.
Yeah, that helped it a little bit.
It's tricky because some of them let you do things and others don't.
Yeah.
Some of them you can export them to a spreadsheet and manipulate it a little bit from there, but not all of them.
Yeah.
So, it's really, you just have to view it on the screen.
Yeah.
I can read this. No,
Show off.
seriously.
I don't know.
I got these
Well, you gotta
glasses.
get
So
way
can I
up,
with a
you gotta get
mic-
way
with
up
a
to it to read it, to make sense out of it. All right, I just thought, well, maybe going forward, there'll be some kind of something. All right, permission to address council, we've kind of already had that.
Right. There are other topics.
Did somebody, well, okay, did anybody else, any other remarks, comments? No? Kind of got it all out of our systems there, did we? All right. All right, Tony, I think we have 3 reports.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we're doing that.
wait, hold on a minute. Yeah, hold on a minute. Did I skip? Yes.
So the pool one was not in here. And
Oh, because
Well, she sent it separately, remember? Didn't she send that?
that wasn't a committee report.
Where did I lose my
What are we talking
place?
about?
Oh, that's the payroll.
Not that, but
Yeah, it's in there.
I had the sheet with the bills on it.
It's in there.
All right, has everybody looked?
Yep.
I did look at it earlier. Are there any additional in the bills?
Nope.
All right. Other questions? Do I have a motion?
Second.
Second. Mr. York?
Aye.
All right. Reports.
3 from the first one regarding village administrator.
I just saw that these under the finance committee. So how is it that,
There's always been in there, Marcy. It's been in there since
no,
January, January or
there's nothing
February.
about the electricity.
But the first one you're asking about, right?
Well, he was going with electricity.
No, he was reading about the village administrator, the first one.
Well, I will be reading about the electricity too, so. reading them. But anyway, you ready?
Well, this is a bit of an issue, and Rob and I did talk about this a little bit. There has been a little laxness here in terms of, sort of things appearing on here that were somehow got into a committee that was really not really put into a committee, and by proper manner and means, we need to tighten up on this a little bit. Things are put into committee by the mayor and then approved by council. I wasn't going to forget that, Rob, don't worry. Yeah. Just so we're all clear on that, okay? All right. All right, Tony, sorry, go ahead.
All right, for the Finance Committee, the Finance Committee met on Thursday, October 7th, 2021 at 3:00 p.m. to discuss the role of village administrator for Mariemont. Present at the meeting were Finance Committee members Rob Bartlett, Kelly Rankin, and Joe Stelzer. The Finance Committee previously submitted a recommendation in April 2021 that was approved by council to start a search for a potential village administrator after reviewing 14 resumes, conducting interviews with 7 candidates, and then conducting a second round of interviews with 3 candidates. The results were shared at the September 13th, 2021 council meeting and executive session. It was agreed in that executive session meeting that there was a candidate who appeared could meet our needs as village administrator. It was also agreed we would investigate if we should hire someone else in a contractor capacity in the area of economic development to complement the village administrator role. The next steps were agreed in the executive session were, number 1, council would begin the process of approving an ordinance officially creating the village administrator role. Number 2, Randy York would work with the lead candidate for village administrator to see if we could structure an agreement that would be satisfactory to both parties in terms of responsibility and pay. Number 3, meet with Ken Geis to see if he could help the village with economic development, and if so, how an arrangement might be structured. No official offer would be extended to anyone until both the ordinance had been passed, and it was agreed how the village administrator role and the economic development role would work together, and also how the pay for both roles would be structured. Unfortunately, after the September 13th council meeting, when the lead candidate for the village administrator was approached for further discussions, he informed us that because it had taken us so long to complete the process, he had already taken another interim role with, that would go through the end of 2022. The good news, though, is we have proven that there are candidates available that can meet our needs. As such, the Finance Committee is recommending we complete the 3 steps that were agreed to in the executive session meeting on September 13th, 2021. Specifically, 1, creation of the village administrator role via ordinance so we can act more quickly once we find another candidate who meets our needs. Number 2, reinitiate the search for a village administrator. And number 3, begin a search for a person or company that can help us with economic development, including developing an FRP and posting it, to ensure that the roles of village administrator and economic development mesh well together. The Finance Committee is recommending that the one group lead both efforts. The group would consist of Randy York, Kelly Rankin, Bill Brown, and Rob Bartlett, respectively submitted and signed by Rob Bartlett.
Okay,
Chairman.
first of all, it was agreed in executive session that Randy York, Kelly, and myself.
Wait,
Hold on a minute.
Hold on, he's read the committee report.
Yeah.
Then what we do is we,
If you, just let me go here a second. You've heard the report. Do I have a motion and a second to accept the report?
So moved.
Second.
All right. And now,
Okay.
any discussion?
Okay, sorry.
And Marcy, might I make one suggestion? I suggest that we sort of go through these points one at a time.
Okay,
Starting with number 1, I think, because that first point where it was discussed that basically that Ed would create a piece of legislation to create the role of the administrator.
right.
We're not hiring an administrator, or we're not defining the role or anything like that per se. We all agree to that one.
We're creating the role, that's all we're doing.
Okay.
Just creating
We're
the role,
not,
not hiring.
not defining the role. I mean,
Because we need to work, that's one of the things we need to work, as it says here, is we need to make sure that there's a good fit with whatever we do from an economic development standpoint. Those 2 pieces need to fit together,
Okay, and then,
just creating the roles.
okay, all right, we all agree on that one. On the second point, Randy, he was to, I guess, work, with that original candidate, Randy Robinson.
No, that was executive session, we're trying not to.
Oh, so, okay. To meet
The
with,
candidate.
to meet with the
Candidate.
candidate.
The
Yeah, to
candidate,
meet
the
with the
lead
candidate,
candidate,
the
the
lead
lead
candidate. I believe you did that.
Well,
and-
he had actually,
And he had moved on.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
So that's why it says we have to reinitiate the process.
Well,
now.
hold on, we're not there yet.
Okay.
I'm not sure that that's what we agreed to. And then we did have a meeting with Mr. Geis, and I'm sure I can mention that.
And it was, you know, he names Randy in the second part, so I think it should be amended to name myself, Kelly, and Randy to meet, because that's what we agreed.
Well, actually, you guys met with him before the September 13th meeting.
Well, no,
But
we met with him.
We
met-
had
you-
a second,
it
we had a
was-
second meeting. Yeah, we had a
Yeah, 'cause
very.
remember you were out of
second
town.
meeting.
Yeah.
We had an
Okay.
informational meeting, and it was agreed, and I mean, I wrote it down, I have notes, that that myself, Randy, and Kelly would meet with Ken. And we did.
And we did.
Oh, good. Well, what was the results?
Well, the results were quite productive. I mean, we went over various aspects of things that we would like him to do, economic development-wise. We talked about certain areas within the village in that capacity. And it was also agreed at the end of the meeting then that he would go ahead and prepare a letter of engagement. It would be sent to Ed for his review, and
Just
it
got that
was.
the other day, and Bill and I are meeting on Wednesday to go through that.
Yeah.
Okay, that was, yeah, because we
Actually,
met with him on the 22nd.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I have reviewed his letter of engagement, but I didn't particularly care for it, so I prepared my own that I'm gonna review with Bill on Wednesday, we're meeting.
Okay.
Sorry.
Wednesday in 2 days?
Yeah.
Like day
2
after
days,
tomorrow?
Yeah, in
Okay.
2 days.
So he's presented an agreement, but not any proposal with specifics of what he can
No,
do.
just-
But which would be the next step after if we decide to engage his services?
Yeah, right, yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly right. Yeah, we're not hiring him for anything right now. He's just telling us the parameters under which he would agree to work with us.
right.
And the
Okay.
amount of money we would pay him about that. Now, I want to, if I could go back, and like I said, I don't like talking this much, but I wasn't aware when we said that it was agreed that we would investigate if we should hire someone else in a contractor capacity in the area of economic development to complement the village administrator. I thought what we talked about was the possibility of someone like Ken Geis, not Ken Geis in particular, but someone like Ken Geis taking on that role as village administrator / economic development director on a part-time basis, you know. But
I remembered it differently. I don't know.
Well,
what you-
there
My
were-
understanding was we were gonna
several discussions kind of circling around that topic, yeah.
I think it was that we would investigate, you know, continue down the path of investigating both options and define
Yeah,
what that looked like, right?
right.
And that's what this is essentially doing too, is, again, that's why those two pieces need to fit together. Whatever we decide, those pieces need to fit together.
Yeah. So in any event, we had, well, let me interrupt that. We had the meeting with Ken
it's not
Geis.
legal
We
to do it,
also met with the gentleman from the Ohio group, or the Ohio Plan.
Ohio Plan.
Yeah, what was his name?
Mike Hinnenkamp.
Mike Hinnenkamp.
And that's a different activity, though.
Yeah,
than
it's
what I-
for a different activity.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
the Ken Geis activity.
That is correct.
No,
Yeah.
right. But those are options, I mean, of different ways to solve some of the main topics that we wanted in an administrator.
Jim Organ, who was here, was
Yeah. Again, I view it, I thought the meeting with Mike went very well, you know, and so, but I view that as different, because that's a one-time, here's a report, there's one time. It's not ongoing help.
Well, I mean,
And so
it could be
I think-
ongoing different projects.
I think we need to figure out, well, he doesn't seem to, well, we need to do the work to find out who else is out there who could help us with
Right.
ongoing projects.
Okay.
And in what capacity?
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
All right.
Ideally, wouldn't we want somebody who could be the village administrator and who could do all this?
Ideally.
Ideally.
Economic development. So we're
That would be,
still
that would be
looking-
ideal.
We're still looking for that person, right? That's
Well,
still-
or again,
Or
or
that.
two roles that can work together like that.
Okay.
So we're keeping both those options open.
Got it.
Yeah, let's be careful in defining what is ideal. That is your opinion as to what is ideal.
That's true.
I see it
That's
somewhat differently, that there's ways to get at this problem by selectively going after the experts. But nevertheless, so,
Well, I don't see why one
That was-
precludes the other, though, because, I mean, yes, that one piece didn't work out with the individual who we're looking to dovetail, but I don't see why we can't continue to pursue economic development. You know, we've had a couple meetings, they've been productive. I'd like to continue my discussions with Ken. Anybody's welcome to join. But I mean, he could be, in a way, we could have an answer to the question about, is there anything we could do with the industrial area by the end of the year? You know, I mean, why
Right.
wait anymore? I mean,
You mean, why are we waiting?
well, no, I'm just saying, I want.
Well, I think that process is ongoing. I
Yeah.
think that,
Yeah.
we've
mean,
got to
we've
vet out,
initiated-
we got to vet out his letter of engagement.
Well, I think we ought to,
Yeah.
I think we ought to get a second letter of engagement too from somebody, if we can. Because I think, again, we need to understand what are the different options that are available out there. So, you know, we've done that with several other things where we've said, hey, we need to get at least 2 bids and get an understanding to see what they're both offered. So I would think we'd do the same kind of thing for this as well.
We could.
I mean, that's what it says in here about developing an RFP and posting it for the economic development stuff, so we can get Ken plus some, you know, somebody else.
Well, we actually have another name, so we could investigate that without having to post, because that's something I could, you know, just set up. I mean, do you remember that? Ken gave us a name of another person to talk to? I have it written down here. I
Oh,
don't wanna
he had
throw
an
out names.
engineering firm contact.
No, he said, remember, he said, he goes, you know, don't just take my word for it. You should set up a meeting with so-and-so.
Oh, well,
And then we set up a second meeting
I
with
thought that
him.
was Mike, yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, I mean, that's
All right,
something
well,
that
we
we could
can-
run that down. I mean, for
regardless.
sure, we could run that, you know,
Okay.
you're right. I mean, obviously, we do want to get more, you know, more than one opinion here.
Bring that stuff with me.
Well, just understand what are the different options that are available for
Yeah.
the services that
Right.
they provide.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think we can all agree on that.
I think we can go on that one. All right, so I mean, I think this takes us to the, you know, reignite the search for the village administrator. In what capacity here, Rob, are you talking, that you thought you were talking?
So what I was talking about, what we agreed in the finance committee meeting was that, again, the 2 searches need to make sure they fit together. Economic development, village administrator, because one affects the other about what kind of responsibilities they might have. And so that's why that's why the finance committee recommended that we have one group who go ahead and lead that to make sure the pieces fit right, that we're doing it the right way together.
Okay, okay,
We'll call that the Dovetail Committee.
Yep.
yeah.
Well, I'm the chairman of Economic Development,
Yeah,
and I need to be included in that.
I think, you're right, I mean, because for what you just outlined right here, you know, I mean, it's a good idea, and it's a good proposal. I think we should put this in her committee,
In her committee?
yeah.
Well,
Well, you've already named, I mean, the
This
three
whole
people
thing-
you've got named here are essentially almost her committee, I would think, I mean.
No, actually, they're almost all my committee, almost, except for one person.
Who?
Well, no, Randy and I.
Right, and so.
and Kelly's
Everybody but me and
involved.
Joe, right?
Yeah. So, well, that's because we tried to keep it to less than, because if you have 4, then that's a
There's
quorum.
a quorum.
That's a quorum, we can't do that, if we have 4 people. So again, the thought process was, from the finance committee was, Randy's already been involved in some of the interviewing village administrators, so we understand some of that's gone out there. Kelly was the one who did, Kelly and Bill, you did the original work that went on back in January, February timeframe to start those initial conversations and looking at those different opportunities. And so continuity there in terms of the people who were involved earlier on in both those processes, village administrator and economic development, to have those two groups of people who are leading that stuff originally to go ahead and continue to do that.
I mean, it is a valid point, you know, but I don't
Marcy,
know how that.
I'll step aside, yeah, you can.
I don't want you to step aside. I want you to work with me. Kelly's in the finance committee, and she can be a liaison. So, and you know, that's fine. But that's the way it should be.
Yeah, I mean, let's have a fresh.
I mean,
look
you're
here.
welcome to sit in on any meetings,
I mean,
and
you
you
can,
know.
obviously, you're there, Rob, you can attend any meeting,
Yeah, but
and you would have input.
there have been 0 meetings about economic development that have been through committee so far, and the economic and zoning stuff.
Well, this could be the first.
And so, well, but this discussion's been going on for a while,
know.
right? It's been in committee for a while.
Yeah.
And so, to be very honest, I'm worried nothing's gonna happen, because economic development's really a critical part for us. We need to get
Well,
something
no,
Well, we
going.
already are doing things.
Stuff's
Randy
already
offered to
happening. I mean, yeah,
switch.
we are happening.
Randy offered to switch, so I mean, that
Randy
would
offered
work.
to switch.
I would like Randy to be involved. Randy's in economic development.
Yeah.
I don't-
Yeah,
you know, I
or
mean-
the,
Well, and economic development is
Joe?
also in my committee. Bill, you're the one who asked me to go, you and I agreed to go ahead and put something in there because nothing had happened so far. So we agreed to go ahead and put into the finance committee, economic development. So,
all right, and that's taken us this far, to this point. Now, let's shift gears here just a teeny bit, get a different look on this.
Well, I think it's up to council to decide, right?
Okay.
It's up to council, it's up to the mayor to decide what committee an issue goes into.
But then council has to approve it. That's in the rules of council.
That's fine.
So what exactly are we saying? I'm just a little lost.
We're just trying to say which
I mean,
You know,
the thing.
we're all, Rob, we're all, here's what I have to laugh about, if I could be very, very candid.
Sure.
I think one of the things that motivated a lot of people here to even run for council in the first place was their dissatisfaction with Dan Policastro controlling every single thing that went on in this village, okay? And now it seems like, to me, you're almost replacing Dan Policastro. You're involved in more stuff going on than anybody.
But that's because nobody's doing some of this
Well, I
stuff.
don't know that that's
I mean,
true,
we are,
Rob.
should be
They
very
may-
thankful for the work
They may
that
not
Rob
be
has
doing it
done.
on your page, you know?
What's that, I'm sorry?
But, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, buddy, as you well know. And I think we got a great group of people here that are working to try to get things done. A lot of great ideas have been brought to the forefront, whether or not a village administrator is the right way to go. But I don't know why you can't put it in some other committee, for
Okay,
goodness sakes.
that's fine.
So to be clear, we're putting the search for the
We're
economic
reigniting the
development,
search. Yeah.
the economic development.
Oh, no,
Reigniting
I
the search
know.
for the administrator.
Both roles,
And
both
the
roles.
dovetailing of
Of an economic
Ken Geis or
development, right.
others, how they're gonna work together, how it would work together.
So who's
Because we don't want this
gonna,
to work together.
who's going to reinitiate the search for the village administrator?
Again, we thought it made sense, the finance committee, correct me if I'm wrong here, Kelly, the finance committee thought it would make sense to have the same group do those pieces because they have to fit together. How those two roles match, you know, in terms of, once you define what you're gonna get out of an economic development, then you can say, okay, now how do I complement that with a village administrator? So the thought was we'd have one group do that kind of stuff, so.
There's just no way for us to do we can't, and not have a quorum.
Yes,
So
right.
that's the stumbling block, right there.
Right, you want to do this as a committee. I mean,
Yeah, this should go into it, and, you know, this should be done out of a committee.
it still has got to be approved by council, however it goes, you know, and I think.
I don't think it necessarily has to be one group. I think that Kelly sits on the finance committee, you know, we can sit in on the meetings, we can talk, you know, I mean, we can be involved in the process. I mean, it doesn't have to be a silo. Two groups can work in concert.
Right, right.
It's just if we have meetings and there's 4 council people in there, then we have to hold a public meeting. That's the rub.
Well, committee meetings are public anyway.
Yeah, they are.
Not if you're interviewing somebody, not if you're going through an interview process, because that's more of a personnel
When
issue.
we got to that stage, yeah, when we got that far into it, we could.
You need to- that needs
We'd
to
have
be
to
a part of
structure
it.
it somewhat differently, right?
Here's what I got from the executive session, was all these things that you say, I think you're right about all this stuff, Rob. I got that what we talked about was, there may be other opportunities out there to hire a guy on a part-time basis, to contract with an economic developer guy to do this for us, and contract with the finance guy to do that for us, maybe working in concert with one another. The big thing we're doing is creating the village administrator position, because I agree with you 100% on this one. If we find a guy that fits the bill for everything, we want to be able to hire him right away, you know, so I think we're good there. But I don't know all this other stuff, what everybody's really looking for. I got the impression that we were just going to start having the mayor and maybe a couple other people, maybe yourself, start looking around, see what other opportunities are out there that are available to us. But again, this is your guys' call. This is not a
Well,
legal
in part,
issue.
that's
You do
we
what
are
you
doing.
want.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, what you just said is essentially right. It's just that we're gonna run it out of Marcy's committee.
Oh, the village administrator and the economic development?
Well,
aspect
because they're
of it?
gonna dovetail together.
So let's go ahead and have council vote on that.
All right.
My only thing I'll say about it is, I agree that it makes sense, you're in charge of economic development, yeah. At the same time, you know, Rob's done so much work on this, the village administrator piece. I just would, I would hate for to lose that.
I don't want that piece. I mean, you know, you know,
Okay.
3 of us could interview, you know,
That's fine,
3 of
and
us could interview for one
If
thing.
you want to
and the
split the
other thing we
two
just talk.
things apart, that's fine.
I don't want it, I don't want that piece. I just want to be able to
We
do
gotta
the
figure
other.
out the logistics of how we're gonna do this, is the bottom line here. We have to figure out how we're gonna do this without being able to utilize the resources that we have and also not worry about having to hold a public meeting every time we have this conversation. So that's what we need to figure out.
All right. So are we agreeing? It's going into Marcy's committee?
The economic development, not the village administrator.
Just number 3 out of this, right?
Yeah, number
So
2
one and
stays
two
in my
stays
committee.
in finance.
Yeah, and then, I mean, you can have.
And then we'll work it out. I mean, they can go, you guys can go ahead and go first to the economic development, and then we'll figure out how to make a village administrator fit
Can
to
I
that.
be the liaison between the two?
That's what I suggested.
Okay.
You're on both, you
Okay.
know, you want to go to, you want to move to economic development, you're already on finance. You know, and the other thing is, for continuity, you know, you and I are going to be here for sure. You know, you guys, I hope you are, but we won't know that for sure until after the election, what our council's going to look like. So for that piece, I'd like to do that for the, you
Good
know.
luck. You're not getting back on.
Okay, so we're splitting it. So that's fine. Marcy, I'm good with that. That's fine. You guys go ahead and you lead the economic development part through your committee, and through finance committee, we'll look for a village administrator that fits that and complements it. And Kelly will help make sure that she's the liaison between the two organizations.
So then you really can't start looking for this person
Correct.
until you have some kind of a recommendation out of their group, so that you know what it is you're trying to dovetail on.
Exactly. Yes.
But can we create the role? Can we?
We're-
move
Yeah, yeah,
we're
we're still
Yeah,
into that.
we're doing
Definitely.
that.
Yeah, we got the ordinance in the
the
packet
ordinance.
right
So
now.
let me ask
Yeah.
this question. Okay, so, I know you met with Mike Kennenkamp, and I apologize because I missed that meeting, and it was just an error on my part, so, my bad. He wants to have this, he wants to develop a session for us to have a strategic plan. I mean, I don't want to wait on the Ken Geis thing. I mean,
Well, the Mike thing
I
isn't
think
can't
it's
be until
mutually
January,
exclusive,
February.
yeah. It's-
Yeah, I think it's two different things.
I think we need to dig into that and maybe have a committee meeting and say, here's our proposal to do this. I think first of all, I think it's a great idea.
okay.
I thought it was a little pricey, but beyond that.
For which one?
For 6 hours? Come on,
For
Randy.
the Ohio,
$4.75 an hour.
for Ohio Plan?
How much an hour?
$4.75.
$4.75 an hour.
But then to me, I'm sorry.
But that's the session, then he's gotta write it
It all
up
depends
afterwards.
on, I didn't look at what he produced. I mean, if for
No, you're
that,
right,
if
right.
we could get a comprehensive plan, I mean, I would
Be
vote
worth it,
for it,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we're taking, number 2 is gonna go into, my committee, number 3 is gonna go into, Marcy's committee.
Okay, so are we going to amend this?
Yeah, we need to.
Okay.
You can strike out the last sentence, and just, actually, let's strike the last 2 sentences, right? Because we're not gonna, just say, reinitiate the search for a village administrator in the finance committee and begin a search for a person, blah, 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 and posting it.
That can help with
In-
economic development?
Yeah.
No.
Begin a search for, yeah, and then you can put at the end of that, from the, from the economic zoning and planning committee.
Okay.
Planning and zoning and economic development.
All right, so we'll make that amendment. Okay, so on roll call, Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
Okay. Tony.
All right, from the Finance Committee regarding village contract for electricity dated October 7th, 2021. The Finance Committee met on Thursday, October 7th, 2021 at 3:00 p.m. to discuss the village's contract to provide electricity for all village-owned properties and streetlights. To be clear, this does not involve any residents or businesses in the village. Present at the meeting were Finance Committee members Rob Bartlett, Kelly Rankin, and Joe Stelzer, Assistant Administrator Allison Urig, and Mayor Bill Brown. The village's contract with Muirfield Energy expires on November 30th, 2021. The village has been approached by several aggregators who would like to bid for our business. As part of the process, the Finance Committee has learned that due to energy price volatility, many of the bids will only be good for 24 to 48 hours. The Finance Committee will be collecting bids from at least 2 different aggregators. Each aggregator represents 5 to 10 energy providers. One of the aggregators will be our current provider, and one will be the same aggregator that the Center for Local Government, the CLG, uses, as eventually we would like to join up with 15 other municipalities that are using CLG's aggregator to get the benefits of leveraging our combined scale, estimated to be savings of 5% to 15%. The earliest we could join the CLG energy contract is when it expires in May 2023, 17 months after Mariemont's contract expires. The Finance Committee will ask for prices over 12 months, 17 months, 24 months, 36 months, and 48 months. The contract rate, which was for 36 months, is .0443 cents per kilowatt hour. Given our past 12 months usage, that equates to $20,035 in spending for 1 year. Initial bids have ranged from .05911 cents per kilowatt hour over 12 months to .04951 cents per kilowatt hour over 48 months. So costs are going up by 5% to 33%, and projections are they will continue to climb over the short term for a multitude of reasons. Fortunately, the total spending involved is not significant, and because of the volatility of energy prices, we have also been advised that we need to ask for bids to all arrive on the same day to ensure we are making an apples-to-apples comparison. In order to act on any bids and lock in the price, the Finance Committee is requesting the Council approve the Finance Committee and the Mayor together to act on its behalf in approving a new contract for electricity and not require the full vote of Council. The Mayor will sign the contract for the village. The Finance Committee has checked with the village solicitor, and it is possible for Council to delegate its responsibility for approving contracts, particularly in situations like these, where the turnaround time between receiving the bid and having to act on the bid is so tight. Also, if the bid were to exceed .062 cents per kilowatt hour, which is a 40% increase, then the Finance Committee would recommend that the decision revert back to full Council. Respectively submitted by Rob Bartlett, Chairman, Kelly Rankin.
All right, you've heard the report. Need a motion and a second to accept the report.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Rob, I think at this point in time, we've only received the one.
Is it still Allison, the other, he hasn't gotten back?
He has not gotten back. I left him a voicemail this morning, and he got email on Friday.
Okay, well, we still may get it tomorrow, right?
Okay, so I mean, but the plan is essentially, as soon as we get the bid, we'll hold the meeting and.
Well, if he doesn't get it to us by tomorrow, then we're gonna have to redo the bids again.
Today was a holiday, so that might have been.
Oh, that's true, Columbus Day.
Yeah.
For some people. I had work. So right now, we're gonna have to play it by ear, but I think we still need to ask, because of the tight turnaround time required, we need to ask for council's permission to be able to act on their behalf to set up the contract.
Right,
The committee.
I agree with you.
For the committee plus the mayor. The committee and the mayor together.
But I mean, the committee make the recommendation and the mayor.
We all agree,
Right.
so.
Yeah, are we all agree? Just have a show of hands here.
I'm good.
Just accept the committee report.
Well, yeah, I guess we're, yeah, okay. All right, a motion is second to accept the report.
So moved.
So moved. I guess we already had that on roll call. It's getting late. Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Well done.
Well done.
Aye.
All right. All right, last report.
All right, from the Finance Committee regarding village financial reporting. The Finance Committee met on Thursday, October 7th, 2021 at 3:00 p.m. to discuss the village's financial reporting. Present at the meeting were Finance Committee members Rob Bartlett, Kelly Rankin, and Joe Stelzer. It has been discussed many times that the village needs to improve its financial reporting, and in particular, communicating its financial position to the residents. Section 31.022 of Marymont's Code of Ordinances, the MCO, states, "The mayor shall communicate to the legislative authority from time to time a statement of finances of the municipality and other information relating thereto, and the general condition of the affairs of the municipality as he or she deems proper, or as is required by the legislative authority." The Finance Committee is proposing we start following the MCO on this. Specifically, the Finance Committee is proposing that the mayor publish 2 financial reports each year. Number one within 2 weeks of the closing of the books for the fiscal year. This would report on the fiscal year just completed, as well as the budgets for the upcoming year. And 2, at the second council meeting in July to approve an update, provide an update on the current year from a revenue and expense standpoint. Both reports should include the following. Number 1, how each fund is doing or did relative to its original revenue budget and original expense budget. Number 2, within the general fund, how each department is doing or did relative to its expense budget only. Number 3, all budgets should reference the budget numbers that were set in January at the beginning of the year. Number 4, the report should also include 2 additional sections. A, an update on what actions have taken place since the last report on economic development within the village, and B, an update on what actions have taken place since the last report on obtaining grants for the village. The reports will be presented to council, and council will then ask for any clarifications or any additional data. Once the reports have been accepted by council, they will be made available on the village's website for residents. Creating these reports will go into effect in January 2022, respectively submitted by Rob Bartlett, Chairman, and Kelly Rankin, Vice Chairman.
All right, you've heard the report. Need a motion and a second to accept the report.
So moved.
All right, discussion.
Hey, one thing I want to make really clear. This is no reflection on Bill at all. I mean, we've never done these reports, right? This has been in the books for a while, and we've never done these things. So, and I think also our financial reporting has improved what we see versus the original fiscal officer's report that just showed, here's the cash balance. I think Eli's done a really good job, Eli and Tony together have done a good job of giving us more data. And I think we need to take it to the next level, though, because the current reports we have, there's no way you could put that in front of a resident. And so this is trying to help create something. And Bill could then provide perspective and things like that with the report as well. So this is trying to create something that that we can use to help keep residents up to speed on how things are going from a financial standpoint. So, again, I want to be really, really clear. There's no knock on Bill whatsoever. It's just we haven't done this in the past, and it's time to, I think, take it to the next level.
Yeah, and hopefully the new UAN system, I think, should make it
Yeah, should
somewhat,
make it,
you
yeah.
know, that we can pull the information.
A little more
you know,
robust, yes.
somewhat more readily off that.
So, Bill, you're comfortable with this?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with it in principle. So I might want to refine a few of the details here, you know, kind of thing as to what's the report going to look like, so on and so forth.
We ought to
Right.
develop a template or,
Yeah, or
you know,
something.
be consistent, you know, because
Yeah.
I
I'm worried
mean,
about.
we haven't had any closing reports, annual closing reports from UAN anyhow, so
No, exactly,
we'll
yeah.
need to
So I don't
see what
know,
we
I
get
don't
out
know
of
for
that.
sure what the first one,
Yeah.
you know, or the second
There,
one might
okay,
look like.
Right, and you send everybody a magnifying glass.
Yeah, right.
No, because I wouldn't, no.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to go into that much detail with,
Right.
again, for residents, we need to give a higher level,
Yeah.
right? You need to do a higher level to people understand where the things are from just a total department level. We don't need to get into every individual component within a department.
Yeah, yeah. I think getting this information, though, out of some of the departments is going to be rough. So, but I will make all effort to do this. Okay.
So I just want to say that when I do the budget in July and also the annual report that I send to the state 60 days after the end of the year, that there's a notice that goes out in the paper that says, hey, these are available at the village office if you
Okay.
want to come check them out. So, I mean, we are doing some communications, and
Oh, that is out there, yeah.
it's out there. I don't know if we put that on the website or not, but
You can find it if you
Is
want.
there a line
yeah,
at the door?
it's.
Yeah, I was going to say,
yeah.
has there ever been a resident to avail themselves of that?
I think somebody asked for one of the reports
Yeah.
one time in 15 years.
You gotta do the optic recognition
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, kind of a thing, okay. Okay, well, I think we're all pretty good on that. All right, on roll call, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Ms. Graves,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye?
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right.
Who seconded that? I missed that. Rob, you motioned?
I think Kelly did.
I think,
Kelly? Okay, thank you.
all right, Tony,
Oh, you get your miscellaneous.
see,
Just,
see what we can we?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Can
I
we do
mean,
miscellaneous
I think
first,
that-
or
Oh,
new ordinances?
yeah, God, yeah, miscellaneous. I did have a couple things in miscellaneous. Yep.
Halloween is Sunday this year, huh?
Beggars Night will be, I think I mentioned this last time, Beggars Night will be on Sunday, October the 31st, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Sure hope we have good weather for that. Leaf season will begin October the 25th and run through the 23rd, December the 23rd, sorry. And John, where are we on the Minutemen on that? Are we gonna,
get 'em.
are we're hoping to get them?
Gonna try to get 3 good ones for us.
Okay.
Mayor, just for note, Sunday, obviously, October 31st is Beggars Night.
Yes.
Like you said. But then earlier in the day is Flying Pig, same day, so it's gonna be one heck of a day here in the village.
Oh, man,
It's a whole
that's
day.
right.
Yeah. Flying Pig
Thanks for-
marathons at,
Thanks for
running around.
reminding
No,
us.
no, my body can't take Monday morning.
You guys are welcome to stop by at my house and watch it, so.
Did you find out if it was going by your house?
Yeah, I believe so. There
Yeah,
hasn't been a
it will-
change, right?
Yeah, no, the route's pretty much the same.
I have an awful lot of people really sad because I had a party and there wasn't any runners.
It's a fun time, it's just a busy day for the police
Oh,
department,
yeah,
as
I
far as
bet.
blocking streets, and in fact, we have an organizational meeting tomorrow with the Flying Pig people, but yeah, it looks like the routes will stay the same.
What happens if I'm not done by 6 o'clock when Beggars Night starts?
Oh, it'll be done, it's done.
Anybody that's still running then, better,
Are you
better
running
get
it?
some better decision-making capability.
No, I'm like Rob.
Uh,
It would be me if I
A
ran.
lot of people walk it.
He's still out there.
I remember one year, probably about 4 years ago, there was a woman coming through late, and I think one of the officers actually gave her a ride home. She's like, we're like, "You're only 10 to go."
Are you running in it this year? You have in the past, I think you're on the police, Facebook page.
I am indeed. I'll be cheering.
Which page is that?
Yeah.
All right, Tony, resolutions, let's see, how much of this can we?
All right, yeah, I got them all
Oh,
grouped together. So
wow.
the first
Whole
one,
thing.
to reappoint
I've run half the
Louise
page.
Schomburg, Marcia Duval, and Joan Vago as members of the Parks Advisory Board for their calendar years of 2022 and 2023.
All right, you've had the third reading, I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, to reappoint Eric Marsland as a member of the Parks Advisory Board for the calendar year 2022.
All right, you've had the third reading, I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
Guys, we got a lot of this to get through, so.
All right, to reappoint Brian Kelly, Karen Burkich, Tom Gilmore, and Lauren Halad as members of the Pool Commission for the calendar years of 2022 and 2023.
All right, you've had the third reading, I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, to reappoint Mike Kittner and Brad Lockhart as members of the Architectural Review Board for the calendar years 2022 and 2023.
All right, you've had the third reading, I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So moved. Randy?
Second, Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right.
All right, to reappoint Andrew Seeger, Steve Spooner, Mark Glassmeyer, Jason Brown Knight, John Fakes, and John Morgan as members of the South 80 Trails, Gardens, and Park Advisory Board for the calendar year 2022.
All right, that was the third reading, I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, to reappoint Marcy Lewis and Mary Beth York as voting members of the Tree Advisory Board for the calendar year 2022.
All right, that's had your third reading, I need a motion and a second to adopt, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second? You better give a second. Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis? Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
Okay.
To reappoint Marianne Prue, John Bentley, and Martin Kepke as members of as non-voting members of the Tree Advisory Board for the calendar year 2022.
All right, that was third reading, motion and a second to adopt, please.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
Okay.
I'm just trying to make it easier on Allison.
All right.
All right, a couple ordinances. To reappoint Anthony Borgening as Village Fiscal Officer for the calendar years 2022 and 2023.
All right, that's the third reading, I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Mrs. Graves?
Aye.
Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, that'll be adopted.
All right, to reappoint Alyssa Wendler as Village Fiscal Administrative Assistant for the calendar years 2022 and 2023, and to set compensation.
Again, third reading, motion and a second to adopt, please.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
Okay.
You want to chime in
All
here?
right, to confirm the reappointment of Alyssa Windler as part-time IT administrator for calendar years 2022 and 2023.
All right, that was your third reading. I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bartlett.
Aye.
Mrs. Graves.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, the next one's tabled. Ordinance amending ordinance O-19-21 of the Marymount Code of Ordinances and to declare emergency.
All right, everyone understands this, correct?
Say it again.
Go-
Bill,
Which one is it?
Again, you want it?
I tell you, the only thing, I was just looking at this thing, since the ordinance doesn't go into effect until November 11th, we probably should change it to the 11th day of November. You know what I mean? I don't know how many stickers you got out.
Garbage stickers.
Refunds will be issued to residents.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Today.
All right, okay.
We're all clear on this?
It's an emergency, that's right, I'm sorry.
So we're just final date for the payment for the stickers?
Yes.
Yes.
And that date is today.
Is it, did we announce that date previously to people?
We did not, no.
Is it, I mean, I'm just asking the question, is it right that we pass that on emergency?
Well, that's what I
This
just
is
pointed
to
out. to Bill.
correct the original one.
I know, but to obvious point, if we didn't give anybody an ed date, we should have done that, so we should, you know.
We should have done early on,
we
yeah, I
should
told
have,
Bill that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we should.
Give it to them now.
Yeah. We're gonna pass it.
You guys
Not
have-
even telling him.
I
We
think
still have- we
4
still have a vote.
hours.
We
You have
still-
4 hours to get your money.
I think we should just shouldn't pass it as an emergency.
Well, I think what you can do is file a motion to suspend the rules so you can have 3 readings, have the 3 readings, vote on it tonight, then when he asks for a motion and a second to impose the, what do you call it, emergency.
Oh,
ordinance,
dang it.
nobody vote for that, and then it won't go into effect till November 11th. That follow?
Yeah.
Did I say
Oh,
that
yeah,
right?
yeah, okay, yeah, we can, and then that
Well,
way
but to your point, we need to change the date in here though, too.
That's what I just said to
Yeah,
Bill, yeah.
yeah, we can bump it up 30 days.
Yeah, make it November the 11th.
Yeah.
We'll stop collecting, we'll stop buying back any stickers.
Allison, we have a motion from Avia, seconded by Rob, to amend the final date for repaying stickers to November 11th, 2021, okay? And then,
So do we need to,
and then we've had a motion to suspend the rules so the ordinance can go into effect immediately. Roll call, no. Marcy?
No.
No. Kelly?
No,
No.
Randy? No, there you go.
Sorry, you caught me daydreaming, I admit it.
maybe.
Haven't eaten all day.
Yeah, I told Bill when I read that original ordinance, I wasn't thinking about the end date, so I told him, I'd even pay if some of these people are straggling in, asking for money right now, I'll pay them out of my own pocket. I can't manage it that much, but, or is it? We should have a drop dead date.
All right, so we're good with that one?
Okay, so,
Garbage stickers.
are we good here?
I think you are.
Do we need,
Need another reading?
you all understand what we just did, right? Yeah,
We changed the date till November
11.
11th.
30 days from now.
Yep.
Yeah.
You gonna do an email blast about
Well, we'll
this?
get it out on,
Something?
yeah.
I mean, there's been one stating the program. I just don't think we've given an end date to it. Is that correct?
We had the buyback program, we had a date on the buyback program, it was an oversight to put the date in the ordinance.
See, we did have announced dates.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, wait a minute. Then that's a different.
I see.
So people have been made aware of the last date.
According to
That
the
is
buyback
correct.
program.
Right.
Someone pointed out that date was not in the ordinance. So,
So we're basically amending the ordinance.
How much have we spent buying it back? I'm just curious.
several thousand.
Are you serious?
There were a lot of stickers out there.
I still have some in my drawer.
I
Too
I
late.
take back my proposal. Should have been, yeah.
The date should have been in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
should have been.
Yeah.
That's what I say. If it's my fault, it's my fault. I'll
So we're good.
I'll tell you
So
this
if
one thing
anybody
about-
else brings any stickers,
I
then
do
guess
something
who's
wrong,
paying
I
for
accept
it?
responsibility for it, man.
All right.
The issue
Oh, we
also-
got one more ordinance.
Yeah.
All right, so the last ordinance, an ordinance creating position of village administrator.
First reading.
Yeah, first reading, we'll have the next.
All right,
All right, are we finished?
thanks.
Jiminy Christmas.
It's just the first reading.